Whenever we're doing any electrical work, we want to make sure that the breaker to that circuit that we're working on is turned off. Whether it be a plug or a switch or a light or a fan or an appliance or whatever the case may be, we want to make sure that we're always safe. We need to learn how to turn off a circuit breaker. Now you might say to yourself, it's pretty easy, you flip the switch on a circuit breaker. But have you ever tried to find the right circuit on a circuit breaker? I'm Jared from DIY with Confidence. Today let's talk about getting a job done both safely and also without reaching my step goal in the first quarter of the day. It's really great if you have a partner that can stand in one location while you're flipping switches and be able to yell, "Hello! Hello!" But what am I going to do when I'm home alone working on this project and I need to figure out which breaker it is and there's no one to yell at? I will share with you today some tips that will help you identify which is the correct breaker on your own or with things you have at home. All right, before we jump headlong into this, there's a couple things you need to know about safety when we're dealing with a breaker box. A breaker box is a circuit breaker box. In other words, it breaks the circuit between a live wire to make it now a dead wire. This has so many amps that this could cook you.
1.21 gigawatts.
We think it would just be so simple as to open the box and start flipping switches.
All right, here I go, okay?
There are a couple practices that you ought to keep in mind when we work on a breaker box at any time. The first thing is always stand to one side of the breaker box. You should never stand in front of it while we're flipping a breaker. It's okay to stand in front while I'm scanning and looking. But as soon as I want to go flip a breaker, I want to stand to one side. The idea here is that I always want to be careful in case something pops, explodes, fires, that there's any sparks that fly out. I want to make sure that my body is safe from this. Always use one hand. The reason for that is if I have one hand here and one hand here, or one hand here, or one hand here, that now creates a circuit between me and I'm grounding out against the house. That means the electricity is going to pass straight through my heart on the path to the other hand. I want to avoid that by taking one hand out of the circuit. Put one hand in your pocket, in your back pocket, in your side pocket, in your front pocket, whatever. Keep a hand in your pocket.
It's been in my pocket.
I know this sounds a little weird, but inhale and hold your breath when you're going to flip a circuit. Just make a habit of it. Just make it your yoga of circuit breaking.
Look, yoga's not my strong suit.
Close your eyes. Once you've identified the switch that you want to throw, keep your hand on it, but close your eyes, exhale, and throw the switch. That way, if anything bursts out, you're not going to inhale, it doesn't get in your eyes, it doesn't get your body, and it keeps you safe. Don't ever do this barefoot, inside or outside. You ought to be wearing rubber-soled shoes. You don't need to put on the most intense work boots. Just make sure you have rubber-soled shoes so that you're not grounding as shoes, boots, flip-flops, Crocs.
These are really good shoes.
If you anticipate you're going to be doing much electrical work around your house in the future, you may want to invest in a tool like this. This is a receiver and a transmitter. This is the receiver, this is the transmitter. This tool is used to test the appropriate wiring of a plug. This also, in this case, is the transmitter and it sends a signal to the receiver.
Can you hear me now?
I can now plug this into the circuit that I want to see turned off, and I can go to my circuit breaker and scan the circuit breaker with this tool and find exactly which circuit this transmitter is plugged into. Klein Tools also makes these adapters to help facilitate those odd connecting places. This one for the whole kit was about $60. So let's talk about how to find the right breaker switch without fancy tools. Schlepping an extension cord from the circuit breaker to the outlet you're trying to test will save a lot of time. Remember, it may take 2 extension cords to reach. Just be certain you bring the right end to the plug so you're not disappointed when you get there. Now, with this end plugged into the location you're trying to work on, and the other end plugged into absolutely anything that can serve as an indicator, and I can see now when I stop that circuit. So I can begin now to flip switches on the circuit breaker and see exactly which circuit upstairs I'm tripping to turn off this light here. You could use anything. Alexa, play DIY with Confidence playlist on Spotify. Yeah, it's an actual playlist. It's good music to work to. brings us to another way we can discover which circuit we're working on without being present in that room. You're smart. You probably already figured this one out. Plug in your Amazon Echo and put it right by the window. Now, on a warm day or a spring day, when it's not 12 degrees outside, you can open your window, crank that music up to 10, and then have her start playing your favorite tunes on DIY with Confidence playlist on Spotify. When you hear the music stop, you know you've hit the right breaker. You may not need to invest in a special circuit breaker finding tool, but many of you have already invested in a wired or unwired security device cam in your house. Here's a Ring cam that I have set up in my garage typically. I also have a Wise cam that I have set up on my 3D printer downstairs. But I can plug this in, and then I can look on my device when I go down to the breaker and see if this has quit working. Right here. And then I'm going to open the app, and when I see that the monitoring has ceased, I know that I've found the right breaker. This is particularly helpful when you're dealing with a ceiling fan or a light fixture on the ceiling or a light in the bathroom where it may be harder to get to and you can't easily plug something in. Again, I'm Jared from DIY with Confidence. Thank you for watching. I hope this video will keep you safe and help you get projects done. Hey, speaking of safety, I invite you to watch my other video that talks about how to annoy that infernal, annoying chirp noise that comes from an expiring fire and smoke alarm, and potentially upgrading to a detector that can keep you and your family safe like it did mine when we had a dangerous situation in our house.